morning, and welcome to our start of term webinar. I'm so glad that you're able to join us, and it's really lovely to be able to share news and to look ahead for what's going to be a really fantastic autumn term here at OIC Brighton. A particularly warm welcome to those of you who are new to our community. It's lovely actually to see already friendships being formed between our new students and our continuing students, and to see them all get back in the swing of the academic term. And I'm speaking to you from a very beautiful autumn morning here in Brighton, and I know that our students are really enjoying the climate and the weather. We had a really lovely afternoon on Friday, our first inter-house competitive event, and it was very much an English fete with lots of fun and games and challenges and something for everyone. And again, it was a really great opportunity for people to form friendships and spend time outdoors, and also develop that sense of house spirit. So a warm welcome to the community. I love this photograph. That's Nick. He graduated in the summer, one of our first graduating class, shown here with his parents who were here for our lovely graduation and prize giving event. He achieved 3 A stars and an A, very impressive student, a brilliant chemist. And he's off to UCL to study chemical engineering. So we're really proud of our graduating class. And of course, of our external examination results from the summer. So some headlines on screen for you there. But I think the headlines don't tell the story of some just extraordinary individual successes. And it's been really lovely over the summer months to hear from students and parents, just sharing their memories and their gratitude and their experience and their hopes for the future. So we now have our first group of alumni, and they will certainly be staying in touch with us at OIC Brighton and telling us all about their future successes. And we know the future is really bright for that first group of graduating students. There is a Q&A icon on your screen, I hope. So please, at any point during this session, do feel free to add any questions you might have there in the Q&A function in the chat. And what we'll do is at the end of my presentation, take an opportunity to answer any questions you may have, or if they're very specific questions about different areas of college life, we'll come back to you with answers. And part of what I'll talk about today is the communications processes and strategies, so that you're clear on where to find the right information and when that information will be coming forward to you. So I mentioned our lovely new students who've joined us for this academic year. We've also got some fantastic new colleagues, and I know that you'll be interested to meet them and learn all about them. So we have the wonderful Zahida, who joins us as our new head of English, really experienced in the UK independent and international sectors, and a experienced examiner. So brings a real wealth of experience about the examination boards and academic outcomes in English, and a real passion for literature. On Friday afternoon for our inter-house event, she could be seen distributing books, challenging students with word games. And I know she's going to be a real champion of literature and literacy for the college. Christine is our new Director of Academic Operations. So in simple terms, all things academic data and timetables. Christine is brilliant in her specialism and a real champion, not only of computer science, engineering and data, which is her academic background, but also student well-being and inclusion. And I know she's going to contribute hugely to both the academic, but also the pastoral life of OIC Brighton. Jamie is our new supercurriculum manager. Jamie comes to us from one of the large Nord Anglia schools in China, and therefore is a particular expert in the amazing Nord Anglia collaborations that are available for our students, whether that's through performing arts, which is Jamie's particular passion as a musician, but also our MIT and social impact collaborations. So he's really excited about what that looks like for our students at OICB. And I'm sure that everyone has already felt a real wonderful energy and excitement around the new supercurricular programme that's been launched at the start of term. We continue to have strong academic links with our sister school in Oxford, and this includes 2 teachers who've joined us from OIC Oxford and have started here with us at OIC Brighton. Colin is our psychology specialist, very experienced as an examiner. He's written books about the subject, and he's particularly passionate about leading students with that support they need through the curriculum. And that's already very apparent. Our students are delighted to have Colin here. He's also a member of our residential team, and so is supporting, particularly with Borders, independent study skills outside of the academic day. Parissa is a computer science specialist. She also has a background in business and engineering, and she has a particular interest in quantum computing, big data and machine learning. And I've already seen Parissa sat outside chatting to some of our students about some of the work that she's been doing. And I'll tell you a bit more about a project that she leads between OIC Oxford and OIC Brighton, with an opportunity for our students who are particularly interested in computer science. But they are very welcome and real assets to our fantastic teaching team. We've started the academic year here at OIC Brighton with a real strong focus on our ABC values. And I just want to share those with you because it's a big part of the language we use, the things that we celebrate, and the way that we keep our high expectations for all of our students. You can see here that our ABC values relate very clearly to our academic pillars. The ambition of our career and university pathway, our strong sense of belonging and how that relates to our students' personal development, and a real focus on curiosity as the foundation of academic excellence. So when we talk about our aims as a college, and I always think it's a good thing to focus on at the start of the new year, we want our ambition to be focused on the future and really recognised for pioneering in the way that we prepare our students for their future, acknowledging that the future that they go into is an uncertain one and will bring with it many challenges. We champion belonging because we feel so strongly about the power and opportunity of being a truly international community. And we want our students to feel at home and included within that community, but also encouraged to serve the community, both here in Brighton, but also the international community of which we're a part. And when we talk about curiosity as the foundation for academic excellence, we know that it's curiosity that sparks the process that leads to extraordinary outcomes for all of our students, and that success will mean very many different things to different students. So our ABC values are celebrated in our reward system that has been launched at the start of term, and that as parents you will see in your child's reports and on the parent portal. So our students receive ambition points, belonging points and curiosity points, and these are available to them in every lesson if they're showing the right learning behaviours. And then we have an opportunity to celebrate these in assemblies and at the end of term with awards, and at the end of the year with trophies, to show students who are really going above and beyond to show these values and attributes. So, for example, you might receive an ambition point in your English lesson this morning because of the very high standard you're working towards, or because of the targeted way in which you're setting goals. You might receive a belonging point in your PE lesson because of the way you're collaborating and working within a team, maybe showing empathy and support for those around you. And you might receive a curiosity point during the supercurriculum because of your genuine enthusiasm for something that you're learning, or the way you're making connections between something you've learnt in one subject and something you're being exposed to now. And that celebration of curiosity and critical thinking is such important groundwork for academic success. And hopefully you can see how well these relate to our ROCKS Wellbeing programme. And I'll remind you a little bit about that because it's such an important part of who we are. And I'm interested to see that the sector as a whole, and also not just the education sector, but I think the world of work that our students will go into, is increasingly paying attention to the power of well-being. Not just because it's a nice thing to do, but also because it actually underpins economic productivity. And that's why more and more leaders in the field of politics and business are recognizing just how important well-being is. And so if we can lay really good groundwork for our students whilst they study with us here at OICB, then we know that we're going to send them out into a world in which they can really thrive. So we based our 5 ways to well-being on the New Economics Foundation model. And we call it ROCKS because of the famous Brighton candy. But this is based on up-to-date research, and it's also a field into which we can contribute by monitoring and tracking our students' well-being. And even this morning, Jono, our Pastoral and Wellbeing Deputy, asked all students just to reflect on their weekend and what did they do for their well-being over the weekend, or what do they need to do a bit more of and have that as part of their plan for the week ahead. So it's an important opportunity as well at the start of the new academic year to remind everyone about the code of conduct. And we've had a real focus on this in our first week back and during the induction process for students. So just encouraging students to maintain the highest standards of behaviour and expectations, whether that's the way they dress, the way they speak to each other, or their adherence to various policies, including those around the use of mobile phones. We think this is really important. We know that our students come from a range of different backgrounds, and actually we think that if we can ensure that everybody behaves as an OIC Brighton student, then this will lead to the best outcomes, not only for them as individuals, but also for their classmates. So, for example, really enforcing our expectation that phones are left in boarding houses or for day students in lockers during the college day from 8:10 till 5:30. This is really important because it means that students are engaged and they're listening and they're looking up and they're communicating with one another rather than being distracted by their devices. An entertaining outcome or side effect of this has been that lots of students don't wear watches because they're so reliant on having their phone with them. So I have promised them that we'll put up more clocks around the campus to ensure that they can be punctual. But these are behaviours, as I'm sure you appreciate, that serve them really well into the world ahead. And we've also had conversations with our students about device use overnight, and particularly discussion over the weekend with our Year 11 students, for whom this is quite challenging. Some of them have a preference to work a little later than we would like, and we need to just ensure that timings meet both the students' ambition to work hard and our own responsibility for their well-being and good sleep habits. Last week, we had taster sessions across the week for students to drop into short sessions for different super curriculum activities and give them a go, so they could find out more about the kinds of things that were on offer. And this week from today, our super curriculum sessions begin and students are going to their chosen activities. The super curriculum is from 4:40 to 5:30 every day. And we expect Year 9 and 10 students to do at least 4 activities a week, and Year 11 to 13 students do at least 2 activities a week because of increased demand on their time for their own studies. But the super curriculum is a term we use to describe far more than just the after school session each day, because actually it also includes the things they do at lunchtime and the competitions they're entering outside of their lessons, and the weekend activities that they do, and the qualifications they're working towards, and the additional things that they're learning. So it's a fantastic umbrella term for everything that they do that adds to their college curriculum. But you can see here grouped under our 3 ABC values, just some of the activities that are available for your child to sign up to. So they might be joining Law Society, they might be taking part in the Eco School, they might be heading off to astronomy and astrophysics. There are lots of really fantastic opportunities available to them. And in fact, the most common complaint I've had so far this term has been that there are clashes and there are 2 things they want to do at the same time and they're not sure how they can fit everything in. We've got some really wonderful opportunities for students to develop, for example, their writing skills in the writer's world or their IT skills in understanding big data, as well as developing academic curiosity with our fantastic telescopes, which those of you who follow our newsletter will see have yielded some beautiful images of the night sky over the summer months. As parents, you have access to Involve platform, and on Involve you can see your child's timetable, but you can also see which clubs and activities they're participating in. And so we'll be circulating information about login for that soon. There are a number of trips and visits planned, which also falls under our wider super curriculum umbrella. And again, further information about these will be circulated. We had some fantastic trips over the last year, including, as you can see in these images, a group who were studying conservation and biomedical practice in Nepal over the summer, and our very successful ski trip last February. This year, we have the Biograd medical trip with OIC Oxford students in Liverpool over Enrichment Week, and a planned trip for those learning Chinese as a second language to China for a cultural visit also this autumn. Next week, we plan next year, we plan another skiing trip in February, and also a trip to Disneyland Paris, which I'm told is for physics and engineering, but it also sounds like a lot of fun. We have invitation for a team to participate in a basketball tour in Budapest against other Nord Anglia schools next spring, as well as any expeditions to Tanzania and the Alps. And we will repeat the very successful Nepal trip for both medical students and those interested in conservation. So do look out for further information about those exciting overseas opportunities. We really think of ourselves as a laboratory for learning here at OIC Brighton, and I'd just like to take a few minutes to explain what we mean by that. We've got a huge appetite to stay at the very forefront of educational research and to ensure that our teachers, and therefore your children, are experiencing the best practice when it comes to teaching and learning. It's a fascinating field, and I've often said that during my career, the attention and knowledge and understanding that goes into what we know about how the brain works and how people learn and how best to use the time we have and deliver the curriculum that we are studying. This has just evolved exponentially, and it's such an exciting field. So our responsibility as educators is both to educate ourselves and to stay abreast with best practice and learning in this field. And we're very well supported in doing that by Nord Anglia Education, that has a large and obviously multinational education branch that enables our teachers and our boarding team and our support staff to develop professionally, but also to engage with some of the world's leading thinkers in this field. So whether that's the impact that AI and technological developments are going to have on our children's education, but also the ways in which they will work in their careers, or whether it's the way in which the latest findings in neuroscience are impacting what we now know about what students need to do in the classroom. These are areas that we pay real attention to, that we're hugely excited about, and that we then apply in our classrooms so that your child is able to make the best progress possible and have a really fantastic learning experience. So some examples of this are the Masters in International Education that we have 3 colleagues working towards at King's College London. And you can see in boxes the working titles for a couple of these projects. So a focus on researching how international students deal with the anxiety of transition and potential homesickness, a really important area where we become real experts in supporting the needs of international students. And in the green box there, another working title about translanguaging and how we are best supporting the needs of second language learners to study in English, where we have very language-rich curriculum to deliver to students, some of whom have not studied necessarily in English previously. We are part of a metacognition research project with Harvard University and Nord Anglia Education. And 2 of our colleagues, Aaron, head of maths, and Fab, second in the maths department, were actually out in America to undertake further research and learning in this field over the summer. So they have come back really enthused in terms of how to use this knowledge and research to better our students' learning experiences. We have ongoing professional learning links with OIC in Oxford, with middle leaders undertaking courses together, with metacognition and AI learning for colleagues going on into early next year. And we're also hosting the Nord Anglia Academic Conference next March, which brings together specialists from across Nord Anglia's European schools here in Brighton. We're really interested in government efforts to bring education's focus to sustainability and decarbonisation. And there's also a number of local efforts here in the Brighton area that are quite exciting and that give rise to real opportunities for our students. We've got a lot of very talented mathematicians and scientists and engineers, and I am without doubt that a lot of their careers will be in what's loosely called the green economy, because that's the nature of the world in which we live. And so to look at what that might mean for us locally, but also internationally, is a really exciting field for further research. We have colleagues and students who are passionate about decarbonisation and about ensuring that we can be as environmentally sustainable as possible. And that will lead to some really exciting conservation and energy focused projects here on campus, as well as an eco council in the super curriculum and an opportunity for us to work towards the Green Flag Awards as a college. And we have a Green Economies Career Fair next year, which I think students will find absolutely fascinating. What does all this mean for your child? Well, it means that we are engaging with research around metacognition that really focuses on what better metacognitive practices can do for students' academic outcomes. You can see on the poster on screen that we had really one of the leading experts on this, Professor Steve Fleming from UCL, here in Brighton to talk to our teachers and our students last June about what this means. And he describes metacognition as a kind of superpower, this almost uniquely human ability for us to reflect on how our brains work and how well we understand or know something. And that reflective practice is something that you're going to see in, for example, your child's reflections in their own report writing and your child's engagement with the feedback they're receiving from their assessments and skits. And you can see as well the work that's already started in the maths department about these thinking routines and the way in which we can train students to think and reflect in ways that really increases their confidence and engagement in learning. I introduced you to Parissa, our new computer science and maths teacher, and she's leading on a project called OIC Fusion, which is also really exciting. It's a collaboration with university academics to create real-world internships for research and development for students from OIC and OIC Brighton. And this exposes them to real-world research skills and data analysis. with a potential opportunity to even get published as part of an academic paper by being part of that project. And it gives them real industry experience about what's happening in the world of particularly machine learning and engineering. And so there'll be opportunities for students based on their ability, particularly in computer science, to participate in this exciting project over the course of this academic year. This is the first webinar of the academic year, and I'm delighted that you can join us. We always record these and share the recordings as well for those who are unable to make it live. But the webinars are a really important part of our communication strategy because we know how important it is for you, especially where lots of our parents are very busy or very far away, to stay up to date with what's happening on campus. So you can see a plan of webinars over this term, quite a long term, takes us all the way to December. That will cover some of the really key areas for you as parents to engage with around our learning expectations and how you understand your child's progress and the reports, information that you receive, around pastoral care and student well-being, around life skills and digital safety, because this is a really important focus area around how best to protect all children online. And this is something that you may be aware has been an area for lawmakers and policy here in the UK. Around the Year 9 options choices, a timely webinar for those of you with children in Year 9 around their GCSE choices this term, and about progression into the sixth form. So we know that for Year 11 students, this term is particularly important about making plans for next academic year. And so there's a focus both on our academic scholarship programme for the sixth form and also about how to start making those decisions. And we focus on that this term because we know they're very busy with GCSEs next year. We also have a webinar planned around enrichment and the super curriculum for further detail for you as parents about that. You will be receiving settling in reports at the end of this month. That's comments from strategy tutors and house parents about how well your child has started the academic year, and regular updates from strategy tutors who you should be in touch with and who will also be sharing news of, for example, ABC award winners on a weekly basis. For Year 13 parents, we have calls the week of the 6th of October. This is our parent-teacher meetings, which we do online to suit people in different time zones. And those take place in early October, with the particular focus, of course, on both progress and UCAS or university application and predicted grades. And I mentioned our lovely weekly newsletter, which resumed last Friday. Those will be in your inbox on a Friday. And if you haven't seen them, do look out for them because they make for fantastic reading, but importantly, an opportunity to celebrate our students and colleagues' wonderful successes. So it would be remiss of me not to remind you to follow us on social media and online, depending on your preferences. We are on Instagram and LinkedIn, Facebook and YouTube. And again, this is a really fantastic opportunity for you to follow our updates, get our latest news, and as you can see on the screen, enjoy some lovely photographs of our students and their activities. I want to give you some overview of the academic calendar. This will be made available in the parent portal, but some headlines for this term. This week we have UCAS predicted grade assessments. So predicted grades have been issued to our Year 13 students before the summer, but they have opportunities now to review those predicted grades in further subject assessments. So they take place on Thursday, Friday and Saturday this week. Our skits begin this Saturday. So skits are our standardised cumulative informative tests, and these take place in a 3-week cycle for all year groups. This is a bit of a change from last year, where we experimented with fewer assessments for Year 9, but actually based on both parental and, interestingly, student feedback, these are reintroduced for Year 9. And they take place across a 3-week cycle so that no one student is overburdened with too many subjects on any one Saturday, but also to give adequate time for subjects to feed back to students and give them an opportunity to improve their performance ahead of the next cycle. So students will experience skits every week, but in different subjects. So one subject will come up every 3 weeks. And I've given you on screen here an example for year 9 of how the subjects are separated. This will also be shared with you. It varies from year group to year group. I mentioned the parent calls at the beginning of October for year 13 parents, and target grades against which we report progress are confirmed for years 11, 12 and 13 at the end of October, and you'll then see those in reports. We have mock examinations at the end of this term for years 11, 12 and 13. Those start and are staggered by year group, but they start from the 17th of November. And then we have end of term examinations for years 9 and 10 at the very end of term from the 1st of December. We will have parent calls, parent-teacher meetings for year 11 students in those final weeks of term from the 8th of December. And then for the other year groups, 9, 10 and 12, those take place early in the new term in January. So lots of opportunities for feedback because ours is an assessment-heavy programme, and it means that we've got lots of information, both pastoral and academic, about your child's progress. Our year 13 students have come back hitting the ground running for their university application process. So I just wanted to give you an overview because even those of you with children in younger years will be interested in what this process looks like. Obviously, this began really last year with a lot of input activity and work around supporting students in making plans. All term, this continues with one-to-one support, especially for those preparing for external assessment, for university entry, and career pathways, which includes interview preparation, and it includes visiting specialists and talks from universities. So there's a lot of ongoing support with the wider process and thinking around university readiness. We also are very mindful that we need students to focus on their A-levels. So although university entry and securing those offers is enormously important, every effort is made to bring that forward as much as possible and to get it completed. And we've seen through experience that students who, dare I say it, drag that process out, maybe are a little indecisive or maybe don't want to submit until later, that can have an impact on their A-level grades in the summer, because obviously what's really important for them this year is that they're focusing on their subjects and getting the best possible A-level grades that they can. It's one thing having university offers, it's also a very important thing is meeting those offers and getting the grades you need in the summer. So that's why we maintain quite clear deadlines, relatively early deadlines, about ensuring that this process is completed for all of our students. So we have predicted grade assessments I've mentioned, and then we have processes for the early entrants to submit their personal statements, again, relatively early by Friday the 19th of September, and the completion of their UCAS forms. So early entrants, of course, are Oxbridge and medics and vets. All other personal statements are submitted by Friday the 3rd of October and forms by Friday the 14th of November. I've also included dates here for the USA early decision submissions and regular decision submissions and the deadline for applicants to Hong Kong universities. We obviously share with students a broader range of deadlines and support for international universities that we know that they've expressed an interest in. We run interview practice throughout this this term in the super curriculum. You can see a lovely picture there of our head of science, Fran. That was interview practice that was happening during the Head Start week before term started in August. But we have very formal mock interviews that take place in November. So a lot of focus for year 13 on that. And that's another reason why wellbeing is so important, because they are juggling a lot of important priorities across this term. Useful for you as parents to understand our approach to independent study, review, or what you might know as homework. So this just explains the expectations around how much independent work our students are set by their subject specialists. It's a really important area. We have researched and explored the thinking and best approach to setting independent study. And we know that our students benefit from very clear structure and guidance around what they should be doing with their time outside of their formal lessons. We've therefore put in place a supervised study in the evenings with teachers or members of the boarding team supervising and ensuring that students have space and time to be completing their independent work. All of this is set on MS Teams as an assignment, so students can easily see what they've got coming up and when they have a deadline approaching. We have really robust academic support in place for our students should they be either falling behind in terms of their target grades or finding a particular subject challenging or a particular area. So this starts with best practice in the classroom, ensuring that lessons and review work are really supporting students' individual needs. But it also includes review of the very rich data we have about students' progress by heads of year and strategy tutors. Strategy tutors will invite students to one-to-ones to discuss any academic concerns. These are happening on a fortnightly basis anyway, but they'll have additional meetings if academic concerns are raised, and they will communicate this with parents. And teachers and pastoral team members are then asked to submit evidence and observations, and that helps to support any academic plans that are put in place or interventions. And interventions might include additional supervised study, maybe closer monitoring of the students' review tasks. In some cases, it may be that additional English support is needed or special educational needs support. And it might be a pastoral issue. So additional pastoral support can also form part of this plan. For example, counselling. We also make additional academic time for students for whom a specific subject is proving challenging, and that might be clinics, it might be super curriculum sessions, it might be extension sessions, or it might be additional time with subject specialists, for example, because they're preparing for a university entry paper. And this is all informed by the very rich data we have based on our assessment model. And you may have seen something like this before. We can see our students' progress in their subjects. We can see the feedback that's being given to them by their subject specialists. We can see how they're tracking against their target grades, and we can see the kinds of common areas where they're receiving feedback. And this informs strategy tutor discussions with the student themselves, but it also informs the approach we might take, whether as a head of year or an academic leadership group, to really focus on both individual student needs, but also a whole cohort needs in terms of ensuring they get the best possible academic outcomes. So I'm going to move on now to discuss some aspects of daily life here at OIC Brighton and start with something that I know is particularly important to all of our students, which is meals and meal times. We have a fantastic and varied menu and good opportunities for our students to feedback about their preferences and about their favourites. So these are just sample menus that appear in the student handbook. So do have a look in the student handbook, because an awful lot of the information I'm sharing with you today is there already. We have a lovely picture of a barbecue there. We're very fond of a barbecue, and we had a lovely barbecue on Friday afternoon as well. So real vary and an expectation that all boarders go to all meals. And this is really important because, as you know, their nutrition is an important part of their education and their readiness for learning. But it's also an important part of our responsibility that they are well fed and well looked after. We know that takeaways are really popular, but we only have very specific times when this is acceptable. And again, it's a treat, it's not a replacement for a college meal. And so we need to be mindful that students should be eating in college, having a healthy and balanced meal in college, but may have occasional weekend takeaways as a treat at the times that you can see there and in the student handbook. Also important to note that we can't have deliveries to the college of any perishable foods, I'm afraid, because we have a real challenge then of both managing what is on campus and also managing the safe storage of foodstuffs. Boarders, of course, have access to common kitchens in the boarding houses, and boarding staff are on hand to support with them, and if they desire to, perhaps cook with their friends at the weekends. There's been a lot of really interesting discussion at kind of national policy level around attendance and a recognition of the importance of really good attendance to ensure academic outcomes. And so I urge you as parents to ensure that you're mindful of arrival and departure times and dates, please, because if we have students arriving late to the start of term or leaving early before the end of term, then that has a really big impact on their learning and on the consistency of their experience in their lessons and subjects and preparation for exams. So I've included here arrival and departure times over Enrichment Week, when our students may choose to stay here on campus for a range of activities, but may also choose to return home. We also have our end of term departures on screen here for the closure of campus at 2 p.m. on Friday, the 12th of December for the Christmas break. That winter holiday seems like a long time ago, but I know this term will probably race past. And then term begins after the winter break on Monday, the 5th of January, and campus reopens in the afternoon of Sunday, the 4th. So really important, please, to plan accordingly to ensure that students aren't missing any valuable teaching time. Exeats are also an important part of our process. Obviously, as parents, you'll be mindful of when students wish to go elsewhere over the weekend, perhaps, or indeed for you yourself to visit, which you're always very welcome to do. There has been quite specific updates and guidance from the Home Office that's particularly relevant for our international sponsored students, but also from the Department for Education here in the UK for all students about attendance. And so we do need to be really mindful of meeting those expectations and ensuring that students are safe when they leave campus, that we know where they are, and that students are not missing any lessons. So we'll publish our Exeat policy and you will hear from Tom Layton, our Director of Boarding, with more specific guidance for those of you with children in boarding about the expectations and communication and permissions needed for different types of Exeat. So that brings my presentation to a close. I'm really happy to answer any questions that you may have. Please do use the Q&A icon on your screen to type in any questions that you'd like answered, and I'll do my best to answer them now, or as I say, refer them to a relevant colleague so that we can get back to you with more details.
I think we're using the chat function actually, and there have been a few questions already I have responded to, so nothing specific for you, Tess. But yes, welcome any questions in the chat function, and we will try to address them during this session. Okay. There don't seem to be any questions right at this moment, Tess. So obviously, we're always available for questions afterwards. So please do forward those on to inquiries at, or of course, inquiries or admissions, and then we can help you. Tess and Joe, can you please help with all the contact email addresses? Yeah, of course. We sent a communication out with boarding and heads of year, but we can certainly send that out again to remind everybody of your head of year, your strategy tutor, your house parent. So yes, we will do that. Thank you. Is enrichment day for a week for day students as well, and what would they be doing? Thank you, Sakura, for that question. Tess, you'll know this as obviously you've had the experience of this.
So Enrichment Week is, there's a programme of daily activities from Monday to Friday, and these are compulsory for our younger students and optional for those who have chosen to stay for Enrichment Week but may be preparing for external examinations. And we'll send around details of that imminently. But it usually is a mixture of educational activities and enrichment and really fun activities for students to take part in. So whether that's bowling or go-karting, or whether it's museum visits and university excursions. Our day students are very welcome to join in. And so details of timings and departure times and so on are circulated as part of that communication. And so younger boarders will be on all of those trips, and day students very welcome to sign up for individual day trips across Monday to Friday, but obviously optional for our day students.
Okay, I think that's probably it for questions. Thank you so much, Tess, and thank you. It's been lovely to see so many of you here this morning. And as I said, if you do have any questions following on from this, please do reach out on the inquiries at email address, or most of you will have my email address, so please do send me any questions that you have. And we wish you a lovely either afternoon, evening, wherever you're calling from.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's lovely to see you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.